Welcome back, trainers. Angel of the Night here. We are back again with the Grand Challenge 2025, part number 2, and this is battle number 27. Now, our opponent here today is going to lead off with a Corviknight and a Garganical, and of course we are going to come in here with our Executor and our Indeedee. Now, with Indeedee onto the field, that is going to have the ability Psychic Surge activate, which means that is going to go ahead and set up the whole Psychic terrain. That means that any kind of priority-based moves or status-based moves are not in effect, and that allows us to also use our Expanding Force to hit 2 Pokemon at once. However, I think it's going to be best for us to actually swap out our Indeedee here and maybe go into our Cantonian Ninetales in order to set up the Drought, which will activate our speed with our Executor to ×2. The other thing I need to do here is I need to also go for the Terastallization with the Executor to fire, and then we also need to go for our Terra Blast. And the reason why we're going to go for Terra Blast in the Corviknight, one, it's a Steel-type Pokemon, but also as well, when you have Garganical, it has the ability to use the attack Wide Guard. And what Wide Guard does is it actually protects it and its partner Pokemon against moves that can hit multiples in a row. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. So they're predicting I'm either going to go for the Expanding Force, or even any other kind of moves from there with the Heat Wave with the Ninetales. So we are going to get the Terra Blast off here. We are going to be able to pick up the KO onto the Corviknight, which is pretty awesome considering the fact that it did have the potential originally to take out Executor for being a Grass-type Pokemon. Now, the next turn that we're going to see here is going to change things up a little bit. It's going to mix things. Pelipper's coming in, and as, of course you guys know this, it has Drizzle, which means that it's actually going to be able to set up the rain. Now, the fact that we have no sun, it means our speed is back to normal. I'm also a fire type now, which means that Pelipper is still going to pose to be a problem for me. So with the Ninetales, we are going to go in for the Weather Ball, which should be a water-based move now, and we're going to aim that directly into the Garganical in hopes that we're going to be able to pick up that KO there as well. However, we don't know if they're going to go for a Terastallization here or not, so what we ended up doing is we ended up going for the Protect with the Executor, just in case we needed it later on in the battle. So, Weather Ball did manage to hit the Garganical, almost knocking it out, and of course it has also set up the Tailwind with the Pelipper. Now, the Garganical is famous for its Salt Cure, and that is super effective onto the Fire-type Ninetales, and it's going to get a little bit of HP back here with its Leftovers. Now, we have a choice here to make. We can either stay in with Executor and try to do some damage off onto the Garganical, or we could just attack it with a Weather Ball again from the Ninetales. And as you can see, we're kind of having a bit of difficulty here trying to decide what we want to do. However, it looks like we are going to swap out the Ninetales and the Executor. We're going to go in with the Indeedee as well as the Sneasler. Now, of course, with the Indeedee coming into the field, we should be able to take a couple of hits. And as well with Sneasler, if we do manage to get hit by any kind of a move, we may not necessarily go down, but we should still be able to outspeed the Pelipper, I'm thinking. Garganical, of course, going in for the Protect there, which means it's not going to take any kind of damage this turn. And the Pelipper is going to go for the Hydro Pump, however, it is not a very accurate move. So luckily for us, it does end up missing. Garganical, of course, still regaining a little bit of health there with its Leftovers, and now we can decide what we want to do. Now, Trick Room, of course, would have been the worst situation possible. Sneasler is a very fast Pokemon. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go for the Follow Me here in hopes that we can redirect all the moves into the Indeedee. And with the Sneasler, we're going to try to attack the 2 opposing Pokemon at the same time. So here we go with the Follow Me. We're redirecting all moves now, which means that Indeedee has become the center of attention. Here's the Hurricane coming in from the Pelipper, most likely intended for the Sneasler, and we managed to take that hit like a champ. And the only downside is we did get confused, which means we may not be able to do another Follow Me next turn. We did manage to land a critical hit, however, onto the Pelipper, and we also flinched the Garganical, which is pretty awesome. The flinches are not 100% all the time, but it's pretty neat that we got that. It kind of saved us a little bit here. Now, I think what we're going to do is we are going to go back in for another Follow Me here. We're going to try to do that whole redirect, and then we're also going to go for another Rock Slide here in hopes that we can maybe take out that Pelipper. However, the next Pokemon that comes in is going to be the Archaludon, taking the place of the Pelipper. Now that's a bad situation here for us now, because when Archaludon comes in, it has the ability of Stamina, and the more physical moves it does, or receives rather, boosts up its defensive value by 1. So as you can see here, we're going to go for the Rock Slide. The Garganacl does not get hit. However, the Archaludon does avoid it this turn, so we're actually in a good situation here. Like I said, if it did manage to hit it, it would have actually boosted its defenses by 1. So a little bit of leftovers going back to the Garganacl here, getting a little bit of HP back. And there is another situation with the Archaludon. A lot of the times they have this electric type move, I believe it's called Electro Shot, and that is usually a charge-based move. However, in the rain, what ends up happening is that it's a one-turn move. It doesn't have to charge. Now, the ideal scenario here is that I could have maybe swapped out to Ninetales, bringing in the Drought and the Sun. However, I did not do that here this turn, and I opted in for the whole Follow Me situation here again. But we ended up going for a close combat onto that Archaludon, and we almost picked up that KO. However, our special defense and our physical defense has fallen on the Sneasler, which means that we could potentially get knocked out if we got a decent hit on us. So here we go. There is the Electro Shot coming in from the Archaludon, and of course, because it's in the rain, it can actually do the attack right away, and its special attack has been risen. Now they are aiming directly into our Sneasler, and unfortunately, we don't have enough special defense in order to survive that kind of a hit. So our Sneasler does go down. The Iron Defense is coming in with the Garganacl, of course, boosting its stats up, hoping to be able to survive some hits. However, all of my physical attackers are now gone, which means that those boosts are not really going to be in effect for any positive outcome for them. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here with the Ninetales, and we're going to change that Drought back out, and we are going to get that Sun set back up. So here we go. We do have the potential of going for a Follow Me. We could technically go for a Psychic as well. Now you could see that I was originally thinking about maybe swapping out to the Executor here. That wouldn't necessarily have been the right choice. So Garganacl actually goes back to the party, and in comes Pelipper. Now Pelipper, of course, is going to set up that Drizzle there once again, setting up the rain, and that means that they're not going to be able to take a 2-turn charge here. Okay, so we get hurt by Confusion, and we're going to go for that Weather Ball. Weather Ball, of course, is a water-based move here at this point, and we managed to knock out the Archaludon, which is pretty awesome. That is a big threat Pokemon that you see a lot in VGC nowadays. More so in Regulation H than Regulation G now, but I'm sure that's still running wild in there as well. Garganacl now comes back out onto the field, and now it has the potential of doing some more harm. However, we are going to lock in for the Weather Ball here into the Garganacl. Now, it's very possible Garganacl might go for the Protect, and the Pelipper might actually go in for the attack onto the Ninetales. However, we managed to outspeed with our Ninetales here, getting the Weather Ball out to the Garganacl, picking up that KO, and that now leaves Pelipper as the last and final remaining Pokemon on the opposing side. Indeed, he finally manages to get the Psychic, and that picks up the KO, meaning that that is the game. So GG to my opponent, and if you guys enjoyed the battle, give it a big thumbs up, post your comments, and I will see you in the next match. Peace out!